they don't want to see that in their backyard. They don't want to have this hazmat stuff running through, as they've seen some of the accidents and the destruction that they've caused. But as for the actual operators, you see this series of they're really focused on the economic benefit, and then until something tragic occurs and you see this loss of life or even monetary value, might be more their strong point, they're not really willing to act on this. And then the community themselves feel threatened. Well, going on to the problem statement, we have the general public and emergency responders are unprepared, as well as there's poor workmanship. There's this transcontinental pipeline that's they're attempting to install that is could be a problem. The impact of the environment, whether it be the person's actual backyard or the any accidents do cause environmental impacts similar to the even boats in the Hudson River Channel. Houston River Channel, other side of the country, Houston River Channel, do cause a lot of issues in the waterways. There's train cars that aren't crash worthy. There's a DOT 111 cars that need to be retrofitted. You need proper ventilation and storage when you are shipping lithium-ion batteries and planes. If they're too close together, they can heat up and cause a fire. Another issue is lawmakers are indecisive on the proper regulation of hazmat, and we also see some cultural issues within the organization on their safety culture, and that's one of the things that we kind of have an issue with. And going on to the solution, just to kind of touch on the bulk of problems that we addressed, considering hazardous materials such as all modes of transportation. It's something, we have quite a few problems, but there's also quite a few solutions. Like having pipeline operators are required to form the people within the community, but it would be nice if they were also required to inform the emergency response teams of those communities so that they could be adequately prepared in case of a incident. And we want affirmative decisions from lawmakers about regulations. We want them to make movement on those topics. And we want higher inspection standards, and so some of these topics could include higher inspection standards for rail and pipeline when transporting hazardous materials, better diagnosis through artificial intelligence. A lot of the analysis of rail and pipeline are done through robots, and so being able to have better image processing tools to really kind of, they take all these images, but then there's still a human at the end of the line and trying to forgo human error and missing some of the inspection issues, and requirements for lithium-ion transport to prevent fires, and increasing public awareness in the communities of the impact by hazmat operators, and including telling the community the product that's being transported, the paths of the pipeline, and ensuring adequate construction and maintenance of these hazmat transportations. That's it for our feeling problem statement. Did you do research engagement? Oh, okay.
Research. In the area of research, we consider that universities, the manufacturers, companies are involved in the roadmap. We should also poll the operators to know what is happening. We know that some operators are doing a little bit better, some are not. So we need to poll them through some of the associations, such as the American Gas Associations. Almost all the operators, they do have some society they belong to. So we do the polling through them, and also look at their safety cultures from those organizations, and also at the same time to look at the best practices that are available there in the hazmat area, including the battery, how the batteries are transported, how they are packaged, because the issue has been on the area of the packaging, which caused the accident on the lithium battery. So we also need to put the gas pipeline companies also to see what exactly they are doing. At the same time, we go into engagement. Under the engagement, we want to use videos, and they want to attend the conferences, and at the same time, we want to use a high-level, most people who can actually motivate to get involved in it, with like senior company leaders, and we want to use blogs, and we also want to use Twitter, and we also at the same time involve human personnel, which is the presenters, to do some of those things. Also, it's our plan also to involve using a webinar. It's not all the time we come face to face to do such a talk. You can actually organize a webinar, translate it through television or your computer, and at the same time people could communicate. You know, these days, especially for us, the federal government people, we're always crying for money. We don't have money, so people may not be able to travel across. So webinar will also be in that way to still reach our audience and the stakeholders. Other thing is what we normally do, which is actually doing the investigation. We'll not stop with that. The last one is to activate. In order to activate, we're looking at taking engaged or becoming more engaged in it, and putting many things into action, using languages to target the correct audience, because that is very, very important. I know yesterday we heard one of our special candidates here, Gabriela, talking about Spanish community and all that. And today we've also heard that over 4 million are Spanish people, which means there are people we need to identify. And to tell you, we had an accident, the Harlem in New York, Manhattan, where a 2-story building blew up. A lot of people died. And I tell you that almost all the people that died there, majority of them were Spanish people, because they occupied there. So the language issue is of importance. So it is very, very important. We have to target the audience. And we intend to also, in order to advocate, to organize workshops, because that is important. And also, there should also be separate rail and pipeline focus. There should also be both direct and also some exclusive products that are meant to gear to reach out to those people. In addition, or lastly, we intend to request participation from industry, groups, and associations, and also the communities. Because we've had incidents like the San Bruno, wherein the communities were the one who actually allocate lands for construction of properties. They're also the one that gives right to the pipeline industry, give them right of ways to do their construction. But they forget, or they do not think ahead to know someday there may be an accident. If they have thought ahead of time, or if they've been well activated to be engaged, to be involved, they would have known that having pipeline too close, houses too close to pipeline was not good. They would have also considered that the time they gave the right of way to the company, they are owning both the company, the right to actually use that part. So involving them is very, very good. Thank you.
Okay, so the last two, we have C and H, convert. So we have to show our audience that they're part of the solution. One thing that's important that Kelly mentioned is that rail people want to deal with rail problems, pipeline people want to deal with pipeline problems, aviation people want to deal with aviation problems. They don't really care about the other problems, even though they're exactly the same. So having that very specific language directed to different people is important. And one way we can also kind of reach out to people is show how that these solutions can be cost effective in the long run. Preventing these kind of major accidents is kind of our goal, and so by preventing those, that allows you to bring down your 10-year budget. And we also want to find examples in other industries of similar ways where focusing on safety has led to progress and helped out. Last is harness. Two of the things that we can definitely measure metric-wise is the number of retrofits, and the number of new tank cars that are brought into this. Is because tank cars aren't crash-worthy, those retrofits and these new tank cars are, the older tank cars aren't crash-worthy, and so these are necessary changes in order to really kind of prevent accidents that have these hazmat issues.
Or more or less, when there's an accident, the retrofitted tanker will be able to contain the product from not releasing into the environment.
Yeah, and so going to calendar, I'm going to kind of combine calendar and digital, basically because we're kind of doing these digital things along with the calendar as well as other aspects. With whatever we do, whether it be a presentation at a conference, there's that same digital response to it. So going on with our calendar, we're going to kick off in January 2017. We're planning on doing a 2-year most wanted list cycle next year, apparently. And so we'll start with a video release, as well as this is kind of when we do our major initial rollout. We have our fact sheets associated with this, safety alerts, a blog, and infographics, all associated with, our big rollout. So the things we're going to continue to use and reference throughout the year that need to be in place starting in January 2017. And next we're going to coordinate with motor experts for speaking engagements. Each one of those would be advertised on our Twitter or Instagram if we keep that up. And Facebook, of course, we have that. And so, and probably summed up in a blog at the end of the speech. Having exhibits at conferences, and some key dates that we wanted to highlight were the 6th of July, which is Lake
Madame.
Yes, in Canada, and there's also the 10th of July is in Marshall, Michigan. So that first week in July, we want to work with TSB in Canada, kind of having this combined cross promotion, have a press conference to really. That's one thing they celebrate every year, and to kind of join in on that, we helped them with the investigation. We weren't leads on it, but we did aid them, and so it's something we could use it. It's a very good example of tank car failure.
And to assist her, the TSB is the Transportation Safety Board, similar to the NTSB in America. So when the accident occurred, we did join them in that investigation. And to them, because of the magnitude of it, they now have to be remembering that period. As a result, we want to use that window, that timeline too. Now.
And the 9th of September is the San Bruno accident? Okay, and then we'll also do some guest blogging with PHMSA and possible roundtable. And as usual, future accident investigations are a great time to have digital campaigns, mostly because they're part of the things that we are out there doing every day, and they can cause industries to make advancements before we even tell them to, and I think that will help improve. And yeah, go ahead, go with our message.
Okay, so to wrap it up, our key message is America benefits from the transportation of hazardous materials such as industrial chemicals, fuels, crude oils, and lithium batteries. Therefore, operators engaged in logistical management must properly handle the shipment of hazardous materials.
Wow, really great picture too. Awesome.
I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so keep dangerous materials out of your backyard.
Yeah.
I can see that being interpreted 2 different ways. I can see that as this stuff is dangerous, so we're gonna make them safer. We're gonna make them safer so they don't spill, they don't explode, they don't burn in your
But
backyard.
what's the negative one?
The negative one is that these trains aren't gonna run in your neighborhood anymore. We're not gonna run. When I hear keep materials out of your backyard, it makes me
It's
sound
going to say like they don't exist anymore.
they don't exist anymore.
Right.
Okay.
And
It's
that,
counterintuitive to the messaging that it's important to the economy.
Okay.
So you either gotta have them or you don't, right? One thing too is if you know that the biggest pushback is going to be the economics of it. It's gonna cost X number of dollars to make sure that this pipeline or these tracks are upkept or whatever. You want to make an economic argument back to that, right? So the cost of San Bruno was X number of lives,
Yeah.
X number of dollars, X number of miles of railroad track. Cost to fix the track on the front end,
Yeah.
nothing, priceless, right?
Yeah.
When you look back at it, so you're attacking right at the worst place that they're going to attack you, and the biggest pushback that they're going to feel like, well, this is going to cost me a lot. Not if you really look at it. If you look at what happened in Canada and San Bruno and all, the costs are a whole lot more, right?
And I think that also hooks back with, you know, I know we've had this huge debate over the word rely over the last 2 days. But these materials are so valuable, they're so essential, that it is essential that we make them safe. It is valuable, it is cost effective to make them safe. And the investment in safety for these essential, valuable materials is going to be worth it.
Good work.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. All right. Ron, I thought you were getting us to go. All right, who's next? We have 2 groups left?
We'll go.
All right. We've got the team, they got the team name. Project name, sorry.
Project Crash and Burn. Crash Don't Burn.
Don't burn.
That's right. Project Crash, Don't Burn.
There you go.
Okay, so Project Crash Don't Burn, internal name for the project only, not going to communicate that externally. It's about helicopter safety. So we want to talk a little bit about what the current feeling is amongst people involved in this issue. The issue is they have these tanks on helicopters, they contain fuels, the fuel systems don't meet current standards, helicopter crashes, fuel system is not crash-worthy, fuel spills, catches fire, helicopter burns, people inside burn, all very bad things. You would think that people would be very engaged in wanting to fix this. We find that's not true. So, first thing to push back, the operators say helicopter crashes are rare. I'm going to roll the dice and say my helicopter's not going to crash, so I don't need to retrofit. Other feeling out there is that the retrofits are not cost effective. Right? I don't need to spend that money. I can put that money elsewhere because crashes are rare. And then the other thing they push back, they say, well, there's not a lot of retrofit kits available out there, so it's hard for me to do this even if I wanted to. So,
one thing we forgot to write is they also might not be aware that their tanks don't meet fuel crash standards, because the rule came out in 1994. Their helicopter was manufactured in 2015, so it must meet those 1994 standards, but it doesn't, because it was built to standards that were developed before 1994.
So, how do we want them to feel? Well, we want them to understand that post-crash costs far exceed the cost of making this retrofit. So the old AMCO commercial, you can pay me now, you can pay me later, right? You're going to pay a lot more on the tail end of one of these horrific events through lawsuits, litigation, and all the other costs that come with that than just to go ahead and retrofit this helicopter. We want them to know and feel that these retrofit kits are available. In fact, they are. There's more manufacturing happening.
Yep.
And it's kind of one of those, if you build it, they will come. Right? And all the safe and cool operators are doing this, and you want to be a safe and cool operator. All right, so the problem is, more than 8 in 10 helicopters in service today, 8 in 10, don't meet the current fuel system safety standards. That's the
And these are
problem.
the helicopters you see flying over every day. They're the ones you go on when you're in Hawaii or the Grand Canyon.
That try to rescue you off the highway when you have a bad day in the car.
Does that apply to helicopters in the service of the U.S. government? Like the helicopter actually is the government owns that?
I'm pretty sure Marine One is compliant.
No, I don't think that. Okay, no, I'm talking about the Coast Guard one I see. Like,
It depends if they have a domestic equivalent, a civilian equivalent.
oh, okay, all right.
So like an S-76 is equivalent to, I can't remember, one of the Marine
Okay, that's
helicopters.
fine, okay.
So, don't know.
So our solution to the problem is voluntary retrofits.
Right.
If regulations were going to happen, they already would have happened. If someone was going to say it's mandatory, it would have already happened. So we got to come at the problem another way because we've been talking about it since 1994. Voluntary retrofits. So our research, we said there's a number of audiences that we could look at. We already kind of know who the operators, how they feel. there are some other audiences there. The legislators and the regulators are two audiences that we could engage, but we didn't want to pick them for this project because if they were motivated to do something, they would have done it already. Right? It's almost a lost cause at this point. Almost. I said almost. Hold up a moment. Right? So we're going to focus on the operators, the people who operate the helicopters, who are motivated or who we feel we can motivate to affect change. How are we going to engage? Helicopter Association International, the Heli Expo, pilots unions, first responders, the people that are involved in these flights and these operations. We want to get to those people, make them aware of the problem, motivate them to be an agent for change. The manufacturers having a role in it, certainly they need to be motivated to engage the people who bought their products to retrofit them, and the people creating the retrofit kits need to get excited about making them available. And then we said, well, we'll go back to the regulators too. Maybe FAA will get on board. We'll shame them. We'll publicly shame them. They'll get on board. Activate. So we wanted to take public speaking opportunities at these events where at Heli Expo, HAI, any of the gatherings of these folks is an opportunity to engage them, educate them, inform them, persuade them, motivate them, convert them. Digital, print, and articles, we're going to have a multi-pronged approach to getting our message out. Some of the channels we want to use are trade magazines, Instagram, Facebook, and Flickr. Use some of that imagery there. Press events where applicable. Kind of kick off. We suggested a pen and pad session. Maybe our media isn't, if the operators aren't aware, media is probably not aware either. So we're bringing them in and educating them a little bit before we ask them to start writing stories about this issue. So bring them in, have pen and pad session, educate them. Hijack the news cycle where it's appropriate. Tragic accidents happening, news coverage ensues. We got to leverage that moment to get our message out and jump on that. We wanted, for the conversion, manufacturer verification, can you speak to that a little bit? Because that's the last concept on me.
So conversion, we were kind of lost on how to ensure conversion happens, but we want to use these people that we engage up here to help us convert these people, convert the operators, get the operators to buy in and commit to retrofitting. And we'd use the manufacturers to verify whether they are actually changing their position and are buying into getting the retrofit.
For the operators.
That is a great idea because you will hear our plan on the next page.
Nice segue, thank you.
That we want them to have a plan by 2017, July 3rd, 2017. That's the anniversary of the Frisco accident that happened a year ago in 2015, which was a big fiery crash. So we could use the pledge cards to get them to agree to that. And then, sorry, the harnessing?
No, excellent. So we want to identify some of the industries that haven't been reached. So we're going to make our effort, make our pitches, go out and engage, and then kind of sit back, evaluate, and say, have we reached everybody? Is there an audience that spoke up and said, what about us? Let's go grab those people. And then we want to look at our social media analytics. We're going to have this multi-pronged approach. So let's look at where did our message go? How was it received? What kind of impressions? What kind of reach? Where did it go? Who are the key influencers? Did we pick up any allies? What was their level of engagement? What was the level of engagement with the content that we distributed? And then our earned media metrics. If we're going to have press events, we're going to do pen and pads, we're going to invite the media to write stories. How much media coverage did we get? How much circulation? How many potential impressions? Calendar. So July 3rd, 2017 is the date that we want to have everybody have at least had their plan in place. It's not realistic to have them all done by then, but at least everybody can commit that I'm going to do this and here's my plan to get it done. We're going to use July 3rd, 2016 as our kickoff date. We want to use the Heli Expo, which is 6 months from our start date, it was convenient, as our midway update point. And so a little bit of I don't want to call it public shaming, but we're going to use that moment to say, that's right. What progress have we made to date? Who's moving out, who's being the cool and safe operator, and who needs to become a cool and safe operator?
Because that could end up pressuring some of the operators. If your competitor's doing this and they start advertising that, people are going to want to use them.
Yeah.
Hospitals will hire them, so that way. might pressure others to get on board.
And it was part of our continuing plan, so we want to say, what else can we look at in the calendar? So some of the people who use helicopters besides first responders and tourism, what types of tourism? So we had the Alaska tours, air tour season. Short window of opportunity, can we engage people there, educate people there? Can we use the Colorado ski season for the extreme skiers? Now, we had a great discussion at the table.
Yeah.
Extreme skiers probably don't care about crash and burn. Might add something to the whole evolution. But the extreme skiers have like kind of deep pockets. That's not like a cheap activity. So there's probably some influencers there. If we could get like one Kardashian, like we don't have to get the whole clan. We can just get one Kardashian to tweet out our stuff. We're hitting it big. All right, so we're going to try and leverage that.
I think in that space too, that I think like hedge fund people who fly to the Hamptons in the summer and
Oh, yeah.
tech people flying at Napa. I mean, and
Oh, that's a good.
Didn't even think about that.
I'm not the target demographic for this, but isn't there like a helicopter version of Uber now? It's
Is there?
it's called like
Wow.
Blade, and you can
Yeah, 5,000 of
There we
40
go.
at JFK. Not that I've ever taken it.
Or
I was
will
gonna say,
now.
Nicholas, you're making these guys
But
way too
I
much.
think part of this,
The DC offices.
yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah,
Very cool. I like that.
yeah, that's a good term.
Because we were talking about, who can we engage in, tour,
Yeah.
travel agents, trying to get that public pressure part of if you want to fly with someone who's safe, or you want to fly with someone who's rolling the dice.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I know it's, he flies planes, but like Harrison Ford, who had that horrible crash, like, can you
Right.
find sort of,
We tried.
Is there a celebrity who's experienced that? Yeah.
How about,
HAI though.
Yeah. Oh, he does? Oh,
Yeah,
good.
because HAI Heli Expo. Yeah,
Mhm.
but he goes to HAI.
Good.
Sweet.
how about insurance companies as ally advocate?
Our experience with insurance companies is they are after the fact. They want to see the data that, yes, this has worked and it has reduced our costs, then we'll give you a discount. They generally don't discount before they see the data.
Got it.
So. All right, and here's our digital and infographic.
they are.
All right, so on the digital side, we wanted to say we want to have a web page that's search engine optimized, so as people start searching for these helicopter services, now that I know there's an Uber for helicopters, we'll kind of hijack some of that stuff so that as people do that search, at least our web page comes up in that search and gives them an opportunity to find our content there with our infographic, with our information, the safety recommendations, all the information they might need to make an informed decision about who they want to fly with or don't want to fly with. Our infographic. So we went with our 8 out of 10 theme, right? We had 8 angry, burning helicopters, and we had 2 bright and happy helicopters.
That's awesome.
So that's our infographic, maybe played over some geography of some sort. Okay, so we came up with the hashtag #BeLegitRetrofit.
Nice.
And then we have a video that we are quite certain is going to go viral. All right, so it starts with
Get to the chopper!
Arnold getting the chopper.
And then he's running, and then all of a sudden you see a helicopter crash, and then you hear, I'm not dead yet! And then you see the helicopter explode.
Okay, honestly,
I'm not.
Run away! So we're pretty sure we can condense that down into a 9-second video. And because we're using Arnold's likeness, we're quite certain that Arnold, who loves publicity as much as anybody else, is going to become a third-party champion for us.
No, I mean, we laugh, but like that's an amazing idea.
Yeah.
I was thinking about all of this because it's like, who is rich and flamboyant and would love it. I mean, like, if we were having this discussion 2 or 3 years ago, I would say get Donald Trump. He'd be like, they told me my helicopter wasn't safe, so out of my own money, which is a lot, I decided to retrofit. We have the best helicopters, they're the safest helicopters, but
Make helicopters great again.
yeah. But honestly, Arnold Schwarzenegger is in that same
Yeah.
demographic and doesn't have the kind of brand baggage that Trump has now. So I mean, and which is why he's replaced Donald Trump on The Apprentice. I mean, they're gonna. So, I mean, if Harrison Ford isn't up for it, this might be something that he would do.
And then, you know, MC Hammer has that song too, with
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's our B-list.
Hammer is
Hammer,
doing,
don't hurt him!
Hammer is doing commercials right
He's
now.
definitely
Hammer is
a taker.
immediately available.
Yeah.
He's probably.
For not a lot of
Calendar
money.
is probably clear.
The bar's pretty low to get him on board.
Awesome.
So we went on, we said we'd have accompanying blogs to go out with our content. We want to engage in the Twitter sphere, not just pumping out content, but having conversations with people, finding out who's pushing our content, who's our influencers, and getting them to engage and having conversations with them to draw more people to it.
The best infographic.
Yeah. Oh, our messaging. No, what are our messages? We have them written down somewhere.
Yeah, I got him there.
Be legit, Treasure.
I think you
Yeah.
should present this at our next most wanted list meeting, and be like, okay, so we thought we were trying something different this year. Thinking outside of the box, and we're gonna start with helicopter safety. I would love that.
There's our infographic. Then we're gonna get Arnold.
Right. Let's see what everybody's faces look like if they're like, oh my gosh, Chris,
Their eyes are
we didn't know this is what we were getting with you.
We hired you, why?
Right, you were so quiet last year.
Our messages are increase your helicopter safety by incorporating retrofits of the fuel tanks. Retrofitting is less expensive than an accident. Bring your helicopter into the 21st century, and if you don't retrofit, your competitors will.
Awesome.
awesome.
That's it.
Great job.
And I think this is really attainable. I think this is a great example of where you come up with a solution that you can sell and with voluntary retrofit. Makes a lot of sense. I think the argument behind it, if there was a groundswell, the government would have done it already, so we're not going the regulatory route, we're going a voluntary compliance route. I think it's a good ideological sweet spot, yeah.
All right.
Wait. Do we know how this unfolds?
I think it comes straight off the top.
Yeah.
Help me, please.
I think you just hold it.
Yeah, sure.
Just hold it.
Yeah.
There you go. It's cool on. Should be round here. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it's screwed up. Not see myself as big as that. Don't leave yet.
Darn it, we've already used 2 of our minutes.
Well played. Got into a whole.
No, gotta lift it up a little bit.
You got it?
Good job.
That's
No, I'm thinking about her things.
Hey, you just say your
Page on phone. You can call it the page on phone.
I'm just a lunatic.
It can like leave us.
It's gonna be 8 minutes soon.
I know, you guys got this the whole time now. Who's another one? This
Why
is
don't we
this one.
just have a wrap?
Another one.
Yeah.
We'll just
Here,
really
use
give
that
you
one.
some just put it here.
I take it.
Yeah.
Bring that.
Page on
That was
phone. Oh, so smart. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
How many youth safety advocates does it take?
Must be an engineer to
All
create.
right.
That's better.
Okay, so in Corpus Christi, Texas, 2 teen girls were fatally injured 5 miles, 5 minutes into their drive home from spring break. The driver fell asleep at the wheel.
Last week in Maryland, 6 passengers were thrown from a vehicle and sustained fatal injuries, including 3 children. None of them were buckled up.
17-year-old Connor Lynch was struck and killed in a crosswalk in Sherman Oaks, California. The 18-year-old driver was texting and failed to see him.
17-year-old Reed Hollister was driving with his, sorry, the glasses. He's driving with his two friends when he suddenly lost control of his vehicle as a result of a distraction. His two friends sustained serious injuries. Reed did not survive.
So in all of these fatal crashes, there is one striking similarity. They were all preventable. Let's stop traffic safety fatalities by doing these 4 things. Let's educate people so they can implement always buckling up, just driving, getting their rest, and teams riding solo. That's all we practice. What do we do?
I had some feelings down, so we
Do you
can
wanna do
start
that? Go.
feelings. So we've already established that teens think that they're invincible, that nothing is going to happen to them. But we focused on both teens and parents. So for parents' feelings, they may be excited that their kid is getting their license, but a lot of them are also nervous about them being on the roads and are somewhat clueless. And we want them to feel is for teens that it can happen to them, your friends, the people that you love, it is happening. And for parents, that once your child gets their license, your job is not over because your kid, just because they have their license, you're not finished yet. And to somehow kind of trigger that feeling of your job's not over.
It's easy. Let's start with the first one, buckling up. So putting on your seatbelt takes about 5 seconds, and it's like a shield. Maybe you can tell them your analogy.
So we said you wouldn't go into war without any armor, so don't drive your car without your seatbelts on.
You also wouldn't jump out of a plane without your parachute. So why would you get in the car and not buckle up? A hashtag would be buckle up. Also, seatbelts save you. So we're thinking about promoting that during back to school because a lot of folks are getting in the car every single day now, getting themselves to school. Also we thought about a really cool PSA. That would be the sound of a seatbelt reminder and someone actually trying to drive with that annoying going. Nobody would do that. It's annoying because it saves your life. That's why it's always important to buckle up. Just driving, something like that.
Sure, I'll do just driving. So just driving is eliminating distractions when you're behind the wheel. There's some great hashtags already in use for that issue. And AAA has their It Can Wait campaign, which is the no call, no update, no text, no email is It Can